In a number of my books, I have mentioned the force that rules this world, the world of humanity. I have said that secret societies have known about this force for a very long time, and have either worked with this outer world titan, or have fought against this dark cloud over humanity, since the dawn of recorded history. This controlling entity has gone by many names, and its attributes have been known to a lesser or greater degree, depending on the power of the factions, or the individuals that try to directly perceive this titan. In my writing, I have referred to it as the Archon and have described it and its influence in accordance to the current of inner alchemy. This archonic power is a colossal and multidimensional sentience, with what could be described as vampiric abilities and predispositions. It essentially feeds on the light of relatively evolved biological sentience. It drains the energetic power, the magical essence, of humanity, turning it into a slave race, a domesticated animal to be used in the same way that we domesticate and use and consume certain animals ourselves. While it is the case that the great mass of humanity is under the spell of the Archon, there are those that fight this predation. One such group may be termed inner alchemists, and as a writer and an inner alchemist myself, I have written about the techniques and the methodologies used by inner alchemy. And after having access to this information, which has in the past, at least in my opinion, been kept secret from the mass of humanity, those that are now beginning to awaken to the power of these techniques, through mine and other people's writing or through their own direct perceptions, may ask, have asked, is it possible to escape the dark power of the Archon permanently? Can a person escape the Archon forever? The simple answer to this question, the quick answer, is yes. An individual human being can escape the archonic force forever. This is fundamentally the ultimate quest of inner alchemy. But the nature of this escape has a great deal of nuance and detail, because as an uninitiated individual becomes an adept, their journey, their quest to escape the Archon, takes them across an expanded and multifaceted road that intricately defies all ideas and rules about the nature of three-dimensional space, time, and being. To begin, as I have said, the current of inner alchemy, through their ability to see energy directly, to perceive beyond the veil of three-dimensional physicality and the illusion of the new religion of the times, which is referred to as rationality and common sense, knows, perceives in a direct way that in the most fundamental sense, energetic containment, which is an underlying methodology of inner alchemy, can allow an individual to break free of the bonds of the Archon forever. Through energetic containment, that is containing the energy that is given freely and innocently by the average person to the great predator, an inner alchemist can escape the Archon permanently. Such a beginning and continual act of energetic containment, which is an unrelenting focus that leads to a new individual energetic configuration, might seem like a relatively simple affair. One might think, just contain energy, that is all that is needed. But it is the case that such an unrelenting focus on energetic containment brings with it nuances and journeys that have far-reaching implications and do require in the end an increase in the complexity of inner action by the practitioner. For example, as an inner alchemist begins this journey, they must be introduced to this powerful and all-encompassing methodology of energetic containment in a step-by-step manner, because using one of the many terms that have both obscured and revealed some of the nature of this dark titanic force, the devil, as they say, is in the details. In the simplest of terms, for the sake of this video, one can say that as an individual discovers the power of inner alchemy and they begin to implement the multifaceted rubric, the puzzle, of energetic containment within their lives, they begin to discover that the external world, the world that we refer to as reality, the world of the average human being, begins to affect them, matter to them, less and less. As this unrelenting focus on the containment of energy, in order to not give up, this magical essence that this vampiric force desires and feeds on, becomes more concrete in a way, becomes a life modality, becomes a new kind of configuration in the energetic body of the developing practitioner. This configuration not only changes their psychology, their internal mental and intellectual structure, it also changes their personal energetic essence, and therefore their physicality as well, to an ever-growing degree. We are energy, and as our energetic configuration changes, due to this ever-expanding rubric of energetic containment, practitioners of inner alchemy begin to change both physically and mentally. One could say that such an inner alchemist becomes more and more ethereal, that is freer from the three-dimensional world more and more, as the intricacy that is inner alchemy, which is expressed through energetic containment, and the manifold modalities and techniques of this way, become a true power in the practitioner's life. Such a practicing inner alchemist then begins to acquire a surplus of energy, which must, I repeat must, be used, redeployed, in such a way that it can allow for the greater development of such an individual as they journey away from humanity, and what it is to be a three-dimensional object, within the bounding walls and the many limitations of classical mechanical space. Again, for brevity's sake in this particular video, such redeployment of energy by a configuration that is becoming less and less a three-dimensional object, through the intensity, the passing, of time, is important, and perhaps the most important of these methodologies is the art of projecting, which is the ability of the true essence of the individual, which is referred to as the ghost in the machine, to move aspects of that ghost self beyond the physical world and into new dimensions, new scapes, that allows such an individual to see directly, perceive directly, experience directly, that they are far more, that there is far more, than just the routinary reality of the average human being. Such unrelenting focus and reconfiguration continues, and as it continues in relentless fashion, the practitioner, the individual, changes, and there is a point that is very hard to define and pin down, where both an external observer might ask, is that person human? Is that person now an object, like I am an object, a body in space, or is that person a spirit, an inorganic entity? If such an inner alchemist is no longer bound by three-dimensional space and time, to an increasing degree, is there a point when such an ability to defy these basic principles of what it is to be human means that this particular individual is no longer of this space? If they are no longer bound to the prison of three dimensions, are they human? Are they alive in a classical sense? When this odd line in the sand that is nowhere in three-dimensional space is crossed, in this practitioner's journey down the current of inner alchemy, is there a point where this inner alchemist, being no longer an object like all the other objects that surround us, can be said to be no longer here? If a being is free from time and free from space, in a way that sets them crucially beyond a certain demarcation point that we refer to as physicality, is this individual really here, now? The answer, at least from an inner alchemy point of view, is that they have become, no longer a thing, and in doing so they have attained the coveted goal of inner alchemy, which is the ability to break free of the three-dimensionality corral that all humanity is bound to. They have broken free from the cage of the Archon, and in doing so, in breaking free, this individual no longer becomes something that can be pinned down, even by such seemingly all-encompassing object-like, definitions and laws, such as life and death. The question as to whether a person, an individual human being, can escape the Archon forever is yes, but this intricate journey that is beyond inner and outer space takes such a person so far beyond the normalcy and the routine of what it is to be human, that in breaking away from the Archon they also break away from the rules that bind all of us to living and dying. When an inner alchemist is able to break from the Archon forever, they have also ripped themselves away from the ocean of humanity, and as I mention in my writings, they have gone so far and for an intensity of time that seems so long, that eventually they may stop and look back, and realize that they have even left death far behind. The intricacies of the journey of perfect and unrelenting energetic containment can be a complex one at times, and for that reason inner alchemy has often used a number of metaphors and a kind of symbolic language that has helped such practitioners in the past. But as this world moves into new phases, this old symbolism that helped the inner alchemist in their journey, and that also maintained the secrecy of the development of this new energetic configuration in a time of life and death, is in my opinion at least, no longer needed, at least to such a mind-numbing degree. In my writing I have therefore let go of this hidden cipher, but have kept some of the symbolism, because in many ways it is still required in order to have a way of understanding the inner map, the inverted map, that can take you to places where few have ever gone. In such a map, for example, that leads the practitioner away from the prison of the Archon, there is this attempt to try to establish a line in the sand in a place beyond three dimensions, where the object like human becomes an unbound entity free from space, time, and even death. This line is referred to as crossing the seventh room of the Projectionist, which as you might imagine is no easy feat, and sometimes a symbolic map can be truly helpful. So yes, one can overcome the Archon forever, And in doing so, one does not overcome just the Archon, but even greater forces, forces that immeasurably dwarf the simplicity of the Titan known as the Archon, and allows such an intrepid adventurer and traveler to not only leave the Archon far behind, but to leave humanity and the life and death cycle behind as well. If you would like to know more about energetic containment, how to create the Philosopher's Stone, how to project, how to transmute negative energy into positive power, how to cross the many rooms of the Projectionist, including the seventh and final room, and in that way overcome the Archon and death forever, then I recommend the Grimoire of Inner Alchemy, which I have separated into 3 parts. These are the Magnum Opus, the Way of the Projectionist, and the Way of the Death Defier.